Hey guys, welcome to the shop. So this is the beginning of a Dum-Dum's Guide to Basic Machining. I'm gonna go run through all of my machines and basic operations, and I think it's also going to expand into support tools, support infrastructure, things about wiring. Now, when you're looking at buying industrial machines like this, most of them are 220 volt single phase, or they're 208, 240 three phase, or 440 three phase. I am currently running this off 220 power to a variable frequency drive on a 1 horsepower three phase motor. It's a WEG, actually a very fantastic quality motor. I would consider them better than Baldor. And I've wired up to a drum switch. So, please like, comment, subscribe, and share it. This is more or less going to be educational content without instructional content. It's just talking about what to look for, what to buy. Pretty much any drill press will do when you're getting started. If you're not sure if you need a die maker's drill press, you don't need a die maker's drill press. This is an old industrial Allen Bradley. It's been gutted and rebuilt at least once in its lifetime. I have added on a quick and dirty guard and a remote switch. So this machine is reversible. It will spin clockwise and counterclockwise. Now, something to be aware of if you're using the keyless chuck is they tighten under load. So you do not want to run these counterclockwise or they loosen under load. But that's just something to be aware of. That's not an issue if you have your average run-of-the-mill Harbor Freight, even Palmgren drill presses. They're not reversible anymore. Grizzly does make some decent drill presses, but, when you run into machines this size and this degree of precision with the box columns, you're really looking at a $10,000 drill press. Now, there's no such thing as a free puppy, so I got the base machine for free. I was given it and inherited it out of a mentor's estate, but I still had to truck it up from Connecticut, and I had to also rewire it, put a new motor on it, put a new drive on it, put a new switch on it. So I have this wired for what's called a soft start and a soft stop. So the machine isn't full on as soon as you hit the switch. It takes about a half second or 3/4 of a second to accelerate and decelerate in both directions. Now that saves some heat and wear on the motor, and it also saves a ton of heat and wear on the drives. So that might not be a concern. You might just buy a single phase motor, plug it into the wall, call it a day. I happen to get a 3-phase motor and drive for cheaper than you could get a single phase 1 horsepower motor, because I will work hard on not spending money if I don't have to. And the wiring's also not intimidating. Like I wired this in less than an hour. So it's, once you've done it a few times, it's super easy. Now, you don't need a drill press this size. I have a nice benchtop 9-inch drill press, and what's actually funny is your distance from column to spindle on this is not much bigger on my little 9-inch benchtop drill press. You got about 10 inches on this. This is really a relic of the past, where this was like a 1 operation or 2nd operation machine in a larger shop. So you'd probably have this set up to run hundreds of parts at once, or it was in a toolmaker shop where it was just a general purpose drill press like I use it for here. They're really great machines. I do think that your first machine should be a drill press because it opens a lot of doors. You can do bolt hole patterns, you can do a lot of fab work, you can do a lot of tool making. Now, you could make a tap guide like this on just a drill press. I made this on the mill because in the same operation I cut a V, so you can use this on round stock. But you could also cut that V by hand with a file. So you can do a lot more in a drill press, I think, than people fully realize. And I'm just going to do a demonstration of drilling a hole and power tapping after we get done talking. It's Also, I did want to show, so you can get integrated shank drill chucks. So this is an R8. This one's a Morse taper 2. And excuse me while I want it off. This is a Morse taper 3. Now this is an Albrecht. These are basically $600 or $700 drill chucks now once you buy an arbor to put them on. This is not a $600 or $700 drill chuck. This is a really cheap Chinese one. This will not hold a 1/2 inch bit, and it says it'll hold a 1/2 inch bit. It does not. You see next to the Albrecht, this is also a 1/2 inch capacity chuck. This has oodles more clamping force. You put this guy on there hand tight and it's not letting go. At least my hand tight. You really got to crank on this guy, this little cheapo one, to hold on to a 3/8 or even 5/16 bit, it feels like. So get a good chuck. That really does make a huge difference in how well your drill press performs. Now I have a dedicated beater chuck I use for tapping, because tapping, when power tapping correctly, you will want the tap to spin in the jaws, and that does damage them. Where run out is more or less a non-issue for power tapping, because not only are you not gripping a tap on where it's supposed to be on that square shank, but the tap kind of guides itself once it's in there. So you're going to cut a little bit oversized this way, unless you do have proper tap drivers. Whether or not that actually represents an issue depends on the tolerance you're working to. But if you're actually the kind of person benefiting from a Dum Dum's Guide to Machining, you're probably not the kind of person who's going to power tap to the degree where you're working on bolt hole tolerances. So we're going to cut over, drill a hole, tap the hole, and hopefully start planning on part 2. I don't know what machine we're going to do part 2 on. It might be tools. I might kind of walk you through what I keep in my machinist's tool chest and my most used machinist tools, or I might do the part 2 on drill bit selection, because that matters a lot. Drill bit and drill chuck selection really does make a huge difference in the performance of your tools. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will join you again in just a moment. And we're back. So I would like to be very clear that this is a spinny death machine that will ruin your day if given an opportunity. So I'm just going to show you, but literally all you have to do is turn the machine on. And see, we're right on that center punch. I just had to move the vise a little bit, but you see how the bit's deflecting, so just tap. On bigger bits, it'll actually self-center. So now we're on location, and I'm just going to peck through this because I don't like big long chips. Now, peck drilling is something you should be careful of in materials that work hardened, because if you rub for even a moment, the high-speed steel may no longer cut and you'll dull the drill. Now, this is mild steel, and you see how quickly I'm reversing the drill, or lifting the drill, I should say, not reversing it. I'm not giving it a chance to rub and dull the bit. And I'm also using a generous amount of decent quality cutting oil. Now you see how we picked up, that's because the bit grabbed at the end. Now if you have it, it's almost always safer to use a power down feed on a drill than drilling by hand like this. However, we don't, there we are. I don't know if you can hear the clunking, but this is a grunty girl. So I'm taking advantage of my lessened spindle speed. See how slow we're going now. And we're spinning hopefully around you know, maybe 180 to 200 RPM. Nothing too fast. Now for this tapping operation, I am going to hold the vise down. And I'm also going to use a beater chuck because if I put the tap in right, it's going to spin a little bit. Now this is just a 1/4-20 tap. I used a number 7 tap drill, which is right for 1/4-20. Now this is a 2 flute machine tap, so you can't do this with, that's the wrong key. You cannot use this technique with a normal hand tap. It has to be a machine tap that will eject the chips out the bottom, like this tap will, or out the top, like that. I think you might get a better view if I back off a little bit. Change the camera angle. Because there's a lot going on, so when we hit the bottom, or I get close to it, I might even shut the machine off halfway down. But this is something where you simply can't use too much cutting oil. It's not something where you will regret using too much cutting oil. But we're going to get our nut on there. Use another nut as a washer because these hold downs are just a little bit long. Now this is something where really the bigger concern is just breaking the tap than hurting yourself. And with the cost of tools right now, I don't like breaking taps. So that's annoying. This wrench is too fat to fit in there. But you don't need to go crazy tightening that down, just put it on tight enough. So we're going to turn the machine on, down pressure. See, we don't have the chuck quite tight enough to start, which is not a bad thing. So I'm going to crank down on the chuck a little more, and we're going to start again. So we've tapped all the way through and just reversed the machine. Now when you get in the rhythm of this, you can do it at a much higher speed, you just don't have to. That's still quite a bit faster and easier than doing it by hand, and that even includes just chit-chatting on camera. So I hope this was an informative video and gives you guys a better idea of what you can do on a drill press and why they're such a fixture in a lot of shops. So thanks for watching, guys.